Welcome to the Loyal Locals podcast. I am Drew Steck. I am the Vice President and Secretary of the Locals. I'm here with three esteemed guests tonight, slash guest hosts. They are here to help facilitate our ease into the off season after the match that shall not be discussed more than like 10 to 15 minutes at length. Tom Blick, our Director of Stadium Operations. What's up, man? It's good to have you back on the
That's me.
podcast.
Hello. Been a
Tom,
minute.
I'm never on the podcast, Blick. Good to have you on the
That's
podcast.
being changed to rarely on the podcast now.
Okay, that's good. It's an upgrade.
We're
It's
we're
good.
upgrading. We're upgrading.
Yeah, yeah. We also have Nate Wiggins, one of our newer Congress members, but not the newest. We just admitted a new one, so you're no longer the new kid in class. You are officially a veteran Congress member now, a senior Congress member. There you go.
Does this mean I get to tell the new kid what to do?
Somewhat, yeah. So the new kid being Nick Duffy, who we had on last
Let's
week, and
go.
he's got a birthday coming up this week. So happy birthday, Nick, as well, to our fellow person of the Northwest Mesa quadrant. Anyway, Nate, great to have you on, man.
I'm happy that I was finally able to make it on. I know I've been kind of joking with you about this for a while, but yeah, no, super excited to be on. Although it is annoying that I got to share the stage with Blake, but you know what, we don't always get what we want.
Tom Blake is out. He has hung up his mic and walked away. We also
Plan is
the
proceeding
other
as
joyous
expected.
laughter you hear there is Paul Naku, our director of Instagram. That's not an official title, but he does direct our Instagram and runs our Instagram. Loyal Local 13, as the kids call him, and the actual like @ symbol for his account. Paul, good to have you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's kind of weird because I'm probably the quietest person, but we'll see how this goes.
You have good insights. I think when I ask you questions, you always have really great answers. So that's why I wanted to have you on. I also think you do a lot of really good stuff for the group that is just always there. I think it's one of those things where I always look at the Instagram. There's always interesting stuff, and it's one of those things where you've always got an interesting take or a way to spin something. Where I'm like, how are you going to do content today? And you've always got a great way of doing it. So you're a creative mind, and I'm sure we'll find some fun facets of that here in the conversation today. So what are you guys drinking? I'm cracking open, as I said, for dramatic effect, a can that matches the kind of the Austin jersey behind me there. It's a Diamond Drive Modern Times Hazy Tropical Double IPA.
Fancy.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. What about you, Tom? It's like a sipping there.
Got one of my favorite IPAs. Got a Swami from Pizza Port.
Yeah, that's solid.
It's very good.
Big fan
Can't
of
go
that.
wrong
Big fan
there.
of the kook. Nate, you got a beer over there? What are you drinking?
I do, yes.
Oh, wow.
Folks know that I love Coronado. So I just
No, really.
got the Coronado weekend vibes. In this is actually not my Coronado mug though. This is a mug. I don't know if y'all can see it, but it's got Kobe on the side. My good friend Erin Kendrick got me this mug. So shout out to her. But yeah, Coronado weekend vibes. Can't really go wrong with it. Yeah, I
It's a
mean,
hilariously large mug of weekend vibes you got there, and it is Thursday going into Friday, so we are channeling the weekend vibes.
it is
into
almost
this
Friday.
session.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
when the
man.
doctor
So
says
it's-
you can only have one can.
Yeah, I think it's legally
holding
the
the mug.
weekend ish, however you want to put that. So we are going to digress. I will say today too, it is a Thursday. We are doing this on Veterans Day. I do want to say just real quick shout out to anybody who's a veteran within the locals, within Loyal, within the just like greater soccer sphere of San Diego. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you did. Especially in the years of service that you put in to, make us be able to do stuff like this and talk about soccer and be silly and do this as opposed to having to worry about, what's going on with the security of our country. So we really do appreciate everything that you've done, everything you continue to do in our communities. I think veterans are some of the most amazing people I've always met and still continue to do amazing things after they get out of the service. So it's good that we have a day to celebrate them. You guys have any thoughts on Veterans Day? Any stories? It
No,
sounded like
just-
somebody was cocking a gun, but I think that was a beer. Paul, I didn't ask you what you were drinking, but I know that you're not feeling totally up to 100% drinking health. So, what you sipping on?
Yeah, just drinking some water. So
That's a great
Just water.
great brew. Always goes down smooth. I made up 3/4 of that beer, actually, surprisingly. I think it seems like I'm full of hot air most of the time, but it's good to hydrate. We encourage hydration on this podcast. We lost Paul for a second. We'll get him back, I'm sure. So, moving on to the thing I'm trying to stall because I'm trying to talk about veterans and be nice to the people who mean some of the most to all of us. But the other people who mean the most to all of us is the Loyal Soccer Club, and we did not have a good game on Friday. I think that's the best way of putting it. So we went to San Antonio. Let's set the scene here. On a Friday evening is the game. Friday almost afternoon for us at a 6 p.m. kickoff, and it was, to say the least, a build-up where we thought going in we had a shot. I think we thought we had a fighter's chance. Most teams traveling on the road, you're a 3 seed playing a 2 seed. You think you have a shot. And then just in general, we thought we were a pretty good team all year. I think we played like a 2nd seed most of the year. So to have, this away game in the playoffs, you felt like I think we have a good shot. We match up well. We like to press and play high. They like to sit back a little bit. Felt like we just needed to unlock them. And really what ended up happening was not that. We didn't unlock them, and we played a bit into their game early on and then settled down and seemed to hold on to the ball. But 2 goals in the first half from San Antonio made it feel like really rarely have we seen this club come back, 1 or 2 games by multiple goals. And unfortunately on the road in that situation, it just felt like they were going to pass the ball around a bit. So if you look at statistics, you can break it down a few ways. 70% possession, but typically if a team is behind, they're going to let you hold the ball a little bit more, unless you're a very pressing team. And it just seemed like we came in, we tried to do what we wanted to do. We had more shots on target, way more shots on target, but they were just deadly. They used to be called the Scorpions, actually, the club there, San Antonio Scorpions FC. And I think what happened was we got stung by the Scorpion, right? Just that deadly. You thought it was going to be the pinchers, but the tail just gets you twice. Took us down for the count. Nate, you were there with me at the Stone Watch Party, which we'll get to in a second, kind of the scene and the vibe there a little bit. How did you experience the goals for San Antonio, and what was your kind of feeling going in and then your feeling after the goals, I guess?
Well, I was not confident going into last Friday, just with the run of form that we had been on in the past month or so. So I was not feeling great going into it. And I was actually watching the USL preview show on ESPN Plus a couple days before, and they made the point that this season we were 3-8-3 against playoff teams. And when I saw that stat, I was blown away. I don't think we had beaten a playoff team since I believe it was July. And so just with all that, I just had a bad feeling going into it. And then when San Antonio scored those 2 goals, because they were in such quick succession, it was like a sucker punch. It was like boom, boom. And then from there, I just deflating feeling. And I felt like, even when we had chances in attack, that game could have gone on for another 2 hours, and I don't think we would have scored. And I am naturally a negative, more negative sports fan, a little bit more jaded than other people are. So not to ruin the vibes, not to come in here and rain on and even already cloudy parade. But I didn't feel confident going in, and as soon as they scored twice, it was like, God damn, getting punched real quick, and it was just. Couldn't get back up off the mat after that.
Yeah, it felt like they were just going to hold the ball, right, Tom? I think that's kind of the concession where we were. It just felt like there was screams of shoot, screams of just play the ball in the box. We would recycle the ball back, right? I mean, there was. What was your feeling when you saw the ball going backwards after like 50 or 60 minutes in, and we're like, we need to put shots on, and we got shots on. But what was your feeling?
It was pain, because the worst thing you can do when you're down 2-0, even in a playoff game, even in a regular season game, is just sit back with the ball and just recycle it 20 times. And we see Landon do this just about every game. And it's quite annoying that it feels like we have to recycle it through Yarrow 15 to 20 times before we can make inroads, before we can get to the box and make an attacking run. So I don't know if that's because we don't trust who's ever up top, if we don't have the creativity in the middle. But it was annoying to see, and we didn't stray away from that because it's always recycle, get it out to Elijah, cross it, hope for the best.
The stats would support that. I think that you're looking at exactly, if you look at the heat map for the game for us, it looks like a butterfly. Two big things like down the sides, kind of not all the way to the side, but definitely out to the sides, and just a strip in the middle where nothing happened, and it's actually almost a valley in terms of some of the touch map. If you look at the touch map, highly to the sides, and the alleyways, not so much in the middle. And that's something throughout the season we saw a little bit, I think, in terms of generation and what we tried to do as a team. But it's pretty crazy to look at. So, yeah, Tom, I think the anecdotal, not always does the data and the thought line up, but, I mean, everything we look at just says this game was a dud. It was something where we had a game plan. We even played our game plan, but we didn't generate chances that were meaningful in a way to score goals. And if you can't do that, as Nate said, I think we could have played another 200 minutes. I don't know if that team was going to. Ooh, sorry. Burps from this wonderful IPA here. Paul, you're not drinking, so let me get your thoughts on the game since you're not going to burp halfway through your analysis. But I do think that it felt like there was almost just a log jam. There wasn't anyone who came out thinking they were going to score that night or trying to make the game theirs. And once we got punched in the mouth, it was, there was no hope to come off the bench because Jack had to go off kind of early, it seemed like, as sub, right? And so once Toomey came on, it kind of felt like that was the one ace in the hole we had, was to maybe bring Toomey on for Jack. Did you think it was the right decision to start Jack? I guess I'll lay that at you, Paul, and then I'll take a stab at it. But do you think it was the right decision to start Jack, seeing as he got injured early and, had to waste that sub on Toomey and bring him in the earlier part of the game?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it is kind of tough to try to bring Blake in from the start because he hadn't been playing and he's just kind of, he was recovering, and this was like his real first game, and it's hard to like throw someone in like that. I wish we could have had someone in there earlier, so I don't know, just to see how the game went instead of having him start. But yeah, it was surprising. I don't know if he got injured or if he was really subbed out because he wasn't performing, but yeah, just I don't know. It didn't seem right.
He was limping off a little bit, so I think it was just because he took a couple knocks there real early on, but it was only 2 to 3 knocks, and he's a very physical player, so you'd think they would account for that, but it wasn't right. Nothing was right. They weren't, putting it together. It didn't seem like anybody was personally going to make the difference, and it just seemed like every pass they played, it was a clunky first touch, or it was a ball that went just wide, or it was a ball that got a little bit too much run on it, even though the player had the right run on it. And again, just felt like not our night. Things like, if you want to really break down the goals, which I'm not going to, Grant Stoneman had one where it seemed like he just watched the ball go over his head. Like, how many times have we seen him be so solid off the line on headers and so, demanding in the box, especially during set pieces? He's been one of the people who's saved us a lot, him and Yarrow, and just both of them seem to, Yarrow being his first game back in a while, maybe just wasn't able to be there. But again, it wasn't on him, either of the goals. I think it was definitely more on Callum and Grant, the two, if you look at them. But it just felt like we couldn't do anything correctly, and the 2 to 3 chances that San Antonio had, they buried, and the 10 or so that we tried almost felt like they were like a joke. It was just not the right shots at the right time. And to say any more, I mean, I'm not going to have fond memories of this game. I think what I'm going to look back on is say, hey, our first playoff game. A lot of teams don't make the playoffs. This club almost made the playoffs last year and should have. I think we all rightfully think the team should have made the playoffs and would have if they were allowed to play their games. And in the case of this club this year, made the playoffs and got there. Do I think there's some retooling that needs to happen? Yeah. And Landon, in his post-game speech, there's a great video series that the club did around this. They did a video before, 2 videos before, the second one being kind of the send off at the airport, and then the third one they released just here right after the match this week, and they, you know, had the behind the scenes look at Landon's post game speech. Really said that he was proud of the guys, the best year of his life. Anything that you guys took away from that video, and I'll kind of open this up to anybody who wants to jump in. Anything you took away from that video with Landon talking to the guys? And for me, at least, I've been very almost shocked that the season's over, and that at least helped me have some catharsis hearing, you know, the skipper give a speech there for everybody, I guess.
I guess for me, that kind of helped me realize that it's not over. Like, this isn't just a one season thing. Like, this thing that we've had our one season of being there. It felt like at times, like, is this a dream? Will this ever end? And I felt like when we kind of underperformed in the playoffs and we didn't reach our ultimate goal, I was sad at first. I was like, this is it. But then when you hear Landon and you hear the other players talk about, this is just kind of the beginning. We've accomplished a lot as a club and an organization, a supporters group, and I just keep forgetting that this is our first year. And just to know that Landon and everyone is just hungry for more to come just kind of made me feel like, let's go next year.
Yeah. We had a shot at a playoff game till the last game of the season, you know, at home.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to say, like, that's not, a lot of teams just get in the fourth place. You know, Oakland was just happy to get in. They're making noise. They're still doing great, but they were just happy to be there. So there is something to be said about how well they played, how far this group has come, and certain players that have especially grown, you know, hugely. And actually, Hackworth is one of those that I think we didn't talk about a lot this year, but I honestly think has actually grown, even though he didn't play a lot. But when he did start, was super impactful, and he's much more. There was things last year where you'd almost see him get run by a bit, but it's definitely a growth from him personally. And I think every single player you can point to and say they started the year here and they finished the year in a better place. And it's very difficult to point to teams where that's the case. And so that's a successful year from a coaching standpoint. They put him in a position to make the right, you know, soccer plays, as he likes to say. But, you know, ultimately it came up short, and, you know, you got ransacked and things didn't go your way. Is there a change from a tactical standpoint that needs to be done moving forward, based on what we've seen, based on the fact that everybody seemed happy almost with the outcome of the match, to say, oh, well, we tried and we just, you know, didn't execute? Or is it something where maybe it's too complicated, or maybe they're just trying to do something that's not going to work for USL level players or the players that we sign? When we had talents like Miguel Berry, obviously, and Rubio Rubin, you saw that, excelling to a different level, and saw them interpreting and doing things that made us look unstoppable. But when you don't have someone like that, it almost feels like you can't, you know, you're fighting against yourself almost. So, you know, Nate, I would say, do you think that there needs to be a change? You know, speaking to your other fellow tactical Nate on inside of the coaching room there, or do you think you can stick with what we've got?
I'll talk to Nate at the annual Nate conference. I do think that there needs to be a bit of a tactical change, and I'm going to say this with a caveat of, like, I am not, when it comes to soccer tactics, I'm nowhere near an expert, not even close.
Yeah.
But I feel like there were times where, you know, it was clear that what Landon and Nate were trying to do just did not work with the personnel that we had. And it's like, you know, I do equate it to like basketball. I used to coach basketball, and it's like, if you want to, you know, play a certain style, you can't play, you know, a Princeton offense with, you know, the same group of guys. You know, you got to adapt your ideas to the group that you have. And yeah, you may want to play a certain way, but if you don't have the personnel, then you can't do it. And so, yeah, I do think that there needs to be some sort of switch in the way that we play tactically. And, you know, you gave the example of how it worked with guys like Barry. But the issue with a guy like that is, well, you know, if you have a guy on loan, you don't know when he's going to get recalled back to his MLS club. And that's exactly what happened with Barry. And I think that there was definitely a switch in the, you know, how well this team was able to perform in the final third when Barry was in there versus when he went back to Columbus. And I know that that's something that Tom and I have talked about ad nauseum. Tom and I, for those of you that don't know, we stand next to each other in 109.
Best of friends.
And exactly, we tolerate each other.
Okay,
We
all
tolerate each
right.
other. But yeah, no, long-winded way of saying that I do think that there needs to be some sort of tactical switch. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say what that is because I don't know.
I see where you're coming from, just as a casual fan who's just the armchair. Hey, this is. I'm not casual in the way of you being casual, but in the way of you just saying tactically. You're more casual. I think it's hard to watch what they did and not be frustrated. You heard groans, and we haven't really heard that intersection before. We didn't hear that most of the year, and so I will say, to their credit, I think the exciting style that is what they keep saying. Landon, in every interview, I want to play an exciting style of soccer. I want to make sure that it's fun to watch, and to all degrees, we've compared them to Liverpool, and I know Nate's a very big disciple of Klopp in some ways in terms of how he likes to play. And so I do think that there's a lot of similarities there in terms of watching something that never really bored us, right? At least the games were exciting, even if they might have been losing sometimes and helter-skelter. It was fun. But there was a sense of, do the players know what they're doing? Yes, most of the season. But does that result in where you need to go? And I think that's where they kept frustrating with us sometimes, where they're like, we played really well, and we would go, but we tied or we lost. What does that mean? So that's where I think for us as fans, we need to see production, and obviously production means winning, means goals. But I do think bringing in somebody like Corey this year, starting the season with somebody like Barry, even though he did get recalled on loan, you want to look forward and say, we need more dynamic, even goal scoring. And so maybe, we'll talk about this in a second, you have to look at your soccer budget and make those tactics match somebody who you're spending money on. And when you bring in a big name signing to any club, or you bring in any signing to a club, you want to make sure that they're a fit. But sometimes you have to make that fit work a little bit, right? And tailor a bit of your club to make it fit for them. So I think that that's where don't compromise culture, don't compromise ideals. But I would like to see us say, you know what, this guy plays a little bit differently, but let's take advantage of that, as opposed to having to make them play differently than how they might have played previously in their career, right? And so I think I saw some of that this year. I think I saw some players playing maybe different positions than they played in their career before, and as they either went back to something they were more familiar with, or they changed a little bits of the system to make it to where that player had more access. Guido, for example, going from more of an upfront 10 to more of an 8. That would be one that's very specific, but it happened in a few different places where players maybe were asked to come more up the field or play more defensively. Elijah being one of those specifically, again, this year, that was asked to do a little bit more in both areas and succeeded, right? So it's where you see players grow, as well as sometimes where they're asked to do tactical things they weren't asked to do before and maybe don't succeed. So it does go both ways. Any other thoughts on tactics? Otherwise, I was going to get to the Stone part of this, and their tactics on the night were very flawed. So possession, they held about 70% of the possession of the beers in the first half. Just to say, Stone, we love you. You're all over the wall behind me here, and we'll adorn shirts of ours for years. But it's one of those things where, for me, that was a very interesting, just like adding to the hellscape of being in the playoffs. And we thought we were going to be outside possibly. We ended up being inside. Outside was a great venue last time, and that actually worked really, really well because they sectored us off and we could order via an app and stuff. And so that worked really well. But going to this party, it was just really funny where everybody ended up inside. Wasn't enough chairs and fighting for beers in the first half. I'm glad we all made it out alive, guys, right?
They
We
just
all
weren't
survived.
prepared. Oh, I survived. They just weren't prepared. I
And
dressed
shout out
like
to
we
the
were going to
club.
be
Club did a great
outside.
job. Yeah, and the
Yeah.
servers were trying their best. There
Mhm.
just was no tactical decision to either segment the party in some way or have like a good idea for it. So, we openly apologize to anybody that we can. I know the club does as well, to say like, hey, this wasn't exactly the design of how we wanted this to go for some people, but it shows the community we have, where people weren't super frustrated. They were very orderly. They were very nice. I think with other fan groups of other sports in America, that could have gotten worse and much more ugly and much less fun than it was, even though we did, and were losing for the majority of the match. So I think that it was, one of those things where you live, you learn, and you hope the next time they do a better job if they're ever going to do this again. And it was just one of those things where I kind of laugh at it now, looking and going, wow, that was really just like a pressure cooker situation for all of us. I think a little bit to say for the night, but
I felt.
well.
Oh.
No.
No,
Nate.
I felt like I felt bad for obviously the workers and the servers because you got this giant influx of people, but then it also looked like there were like a couple wedding parties going on like right next to where we were at. So I felt kind of bad for the people that were like, oh, let's have our wedding at Stone, or let's have our wedding party at Stone, and now here comes 300 people that are making a bunch of noise. So I want to apologize to those wedding. Those couples, and I hope that you have a long and happy marriage. But yeah, it was a very interesting experience, but it was also just nice to see everyone, given the fact that this was a playoff game, and we did end up losing. It was like, dang, like I don't know when's the next time that we're all going to be together in a space like this. So it was great, just to to be there to see everyone. I parked my car, and the first person I saw actually was Tom. And
Sorry to ruin your night.
you said it, not me.
I know.
But yeah, just a interesting experience, but always great to come together and celebrate, or be sad. At least you got your buddies with you.
And going away from being negative most of this time right now, it was really nice to see. I'm going to be positive right now. It was really nice to see that many people care about a one-off playoff game.
Totally. That's what I was going to say.
Whether it was majority bandwagon people hearing about us for the first time and wanted to check it out, or the diehards like us go to every game that we can, do what we can for the club and the supporters group. Just seeing everybody come together in one spot and just show support for a San Diego team. It was really something to see, and hopefully it continues into increased ticket sales for next year, increased season tickets for next year, more people in 109, expanding out into the surrounding sections too.
One of the few teams in town to actually go to the playoffs. No shots fired, but maybe gauged. Maybe I gauged up some shots, but I did not fire them. It was
looking at you, goals.
It was one of those things. Yeah,
Drew coming from the top row.
I know, right? It was one of those things where you look around and you go, "Wow, this is like," and you're seeing faces you've seen all throughout the year, which was cool, and just having everybody at one watch party. It was like certain watch parties you'd have maybe 50% of the people who come to all the watch parties. Then at other watch parties, you have a rotating 50 or 60 or 70%, depending on how big of a night is, what the night schedule was, Saturdays versus Sundays, all that kind of stuff. This one was really cool because it was just like everyone was there. And, that was the problem. There was so many people that wanted to come to this that I don't think anyone was prepared for that amount of people. So in that case, we broke Stone. Congratulations, everybody. We did it. We broke the Stone. And like King Arthur with a sword. We did it. But yeah, it was a beautiful moment, even though the night didn't end where we wanted it to. It was very fun. It had a cool atmosphere. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, this is what are these people going to? What's happening here? What's going on? So I revel in that, and I hope we can do more of that next year and moving forward, because a year before, and if we didn't make the playoffs, but if we would have, we wouldn't have been able to do that at all, And so that shows how far we've come, and congrats everybody for doing what we needed to do. But that's, I take that as progress as well, right, as society. So we look around us and we look inward. And we say it's pretty good. But one of the things that was the coolest part about going to that watch party was that Andrew, our chairman, gave a speech at the end of the watch party where he stood up on a chair and he said, "Thanks to everybody for coming," after we did the San Diego We Are chant like 6 times. And then Andrew gets up on a chair and he is like, "Hey, I'm Andrew." And he had a mic and he was trying to talk, and then the mic died. He's like, "I'm just going to yell it now." And then he yelled most of his speech. And so it was really cool to have the chairman there with everybody, number one, right, in the middle of everybody. So we're all having this, like, not terrible experience, but definitely colorful experience at Stone. And, having the chairman there with all of us, I think it endeared me a bit, too, to say, like, hey, he's here, he's with everybody, which is really nice. And he's never been the guy who wouldn't be. but was hanging out and then jumped up at the end of the night, almost like where I think people didn't realize he was there, right? Which was kind of cool. And gave this speech where he just said, "Thank you to everyone. Thank you for everything. This is honestly, one of the, he feels like from an investment standpoint, it's worth every dollar, if not more. And we'll commit to putting actually a bigger soccer budget," he said, "at the top of the league next year." So that's one of the things of note. And we're going to break down a few of these things of note because they're much more interesting than the game we watched. So we're going to have the soccer budget at the top of the year, as we were saying, signing players that work either for the system or players that are so good that they don't need a system, right? Like Zlatan. We don't, not Zlatan, but that's the mold we're looking for here. So, 6'5" Swedish strikers, that would be great. So, Allen is also available, I guess, as well. Yeah. What do you guys think? Who would be, we most of us don't have a scope of USL and MLS players, but what would be your style of, since we were talking a little bit about strikers, and we'll talk about players that are returning here in a second, striker, who would be your ideal signing for this club, I guess, in terms of the profile that you're looking for? Paul, I'll go to you first.
Someone that can score goals.
Is there a type of player? Is there a player
Very,
though, that
very,
this guy would work
I
really
mean,
well in our system, where I think like they would feed really well off of, Elijah or whatever.
Yeah, I just feel like there's definitely a system in play here, but I feel like I think the most impressive goals for me are the people that just took it upon themselves and like, this is my shot. I'm gonna score. I'm gonna go around 2 or 3 people and shoot the ball, because there's definitely opportunities like that are easy like layups, but I feel like sometimes we can't wait for those moments. Like we really have to like be aggressive, and I think to me that's what we were missing. I saw it a little bit in Guido. Like if he didn't fall down and he stayed on his feet, he had a really good shot on goal. So just kind of like those type of players, just like, I don't care. I'm not gonna go for the penalty. I'm gonna go for the goal type of thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
You guys got any?
Yeah.
If we could just find the identical twin of Miguel Berry, that would be fantastic.
Grow another Miguel Berry in a lab.
Exactly. There's got to be science out there that can do it.
Well, my choice, I'll give you my ideal world choice and then like the real world. Ideally, Kylian Mbappe is a free agent at the end of the year, so maybe putting a call to his dad, but probably not the best most realistic option. But I would really like to see us hold on to Augie Williams, and I know we're going to get into players returning and players that may or may not be coming back, but I mean, he was, as someone who does also follow the LA Galaxy, I mean, he was buried deep in the depth chart. He was not getting playing time, and so I think that for him to get loaned out to us, I thought that he was, when he got the service that he needed, he was a very, very clinical striker in the final third. So I would love to see us bring him back. I'm not really sure what that would entail, since he will be going back to the Galaxy, but I would love to see him on the team next year. I think he would be perfect, so long as that you also sign players that can get him the right service.
I would agree with that. I think when he was getting the right balls in, he looked fantastic, and as soon as that died a bit, it went away. Jack Metcalf was a big reason for his success. When Jack stopped playing as much, there was less through balls through to Augie Williams to play well. So there is a number of players too that I think we might have a chance to sign to contracts that might have not looked at contracts from us before, or we might have been trying to get on a loan or on a lesser deal. That's going to be interesting too. Tom, who are you looking for?
Like I said, the identical twin of Miguel Berry, if he's somewhere out there, because if we're going to be ideal, I would like to see us switch to like I hate to say it because I hate Liverpool, but like whatever Liverpool does, the holding 4-3-3 is the false 9-4-3-3.
Yeah,
and find somebody that can play that ball. Have your wingers just cut inside, and then just grind out those goals. Get them in there, then everybody just presses on down and finds the dirty goal. The best goals people score are the dirty ones because they just come from everything.
Well, and our wingers almost seem to be most dangerous, with Toomey and Jack, and when they're coming in from towards goal, right? Almost when they're coming back to goal, when they almost overrun goal and come back to it, it seems like they play some of either the most dangerous goals directly right into the box, straight at the net, or over to a player just in terms of a pass that's almost a surefire goal from the goal probability statistics. So it is pretty amazing to see in terms of what's there, in front of us. That was one of the crazy things he said. He said, I'm also going to get in trouble for some of the things I say. Like, hey, we're going to have Torrey Green next year. What? Pretty cool. We all, I think, assume this. If we weren't going to get Torrey Green by like year 3 or 4, we would probably riot. Like, San Diegans don't flip over cars. We're not San Francisco. But
Speak for yourself.
we would if we don't get Torrey Green, right?
Just
Just
set
saying.
banks on fire.
Yeah. Oh, I would, for sure. If we didn't have Torrey Green by next season, I would definitely set things on fire. So that's pretty big. Paul, our local merch mansion expert, how do you feel about this? How did you feel when you heard the news? Torrey Green's coming next year for sure.
Wait, when was that?
Well, you just
Did
heard
I
it from
not
me.
hear the news?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
you.
don't know. Yeah, sure. You heard it from me, from the chairman, after the Stone party. So they said Torrey Green's definitely coming next year. That's pretty exciting. How do you feel about this? And will it? My thing is, like, will it even make a dent in your like buying of merch? Will you buy more merch, or will you just be like, oh, I'm still just buying the same amount of merch, I guess?
I think it's the same. To be honest, like if it's a New Jersey, then you got to go with the New Jersey. So it's kind of like whatever color it may be. It's kind of like, of course you want that Torrey Green, but guess what? The locals made Torrey Green kits already. Like I have that green, so it's kind of like I'm okay, but it's not gonna make a difference, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of
True.
like I'm glad they're fulfilling a promise. I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, like you've invested a lot of time in wardrobe choices that involve Torrey Green, so I feel like for you, they're paying off that promise where you can finally wear them with something other than your beautiful locals kit that you're wearing right now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true. So
I've been
I'm
buying a
excited to
lot
see
more
designs.
green.
Yes, a lot more green. Anything in the store. Annoyingly, I must not be the only one who goes to my wife and says, "Hey, this is Torrey Green," and she goes, "No, it's not. It's not the same color." I go, "Oh." But yeah, everything that's
Yeah.
like close to Torrey Green, it's always like, yeah, I should buy this for no rational reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Yeah, every time I go in the store, like it's always like we were trying to get Torrey Green, but came in this color. It was pretty close, but it's not. I was like, okay, just tell me when you get Torrey Green instead of it's close.
Right? And that's what we've been saying to Adidas for a couple years now. Any other thoughts from you guys on the jersey change up? Any things you'd like to see? Any?
I'd like to see some creativity in the jerseys.
Yeah.
Make it stand out.
Not templates would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would always be a preference of every fan, I think. But yeah, especially after, they're nice, high quality. But it would be nice to have our stamp and thing that says this uniquely San Diego loyal and something that no other club has. I think that would be a huge thing to take. One of the other things he alluded to was that we would have returning players shortly, and I'll get to this in a second here. But Landon followed up with that on a Darren Smith interview today, where he dropped some of those names. So pretty interesting stuff on that interview, where he was calling in from the beach, I guess, with his kids, which is nice. If you did end your season maybe a little earlier than you anticipated, you get to spend some time with the family, which is good, and I like to see that from Landon because I'm sure he missed out
deserves
on a
it.
lot of that. Yeah,
He deserves
missed
it.
out on.
Hit the beach, man.
Yeah, have fun. Have fun. And it's just funny because you got to listen to the interview, but it was kind of funny. So you had to be there. You had to be listening to the interview. You can go to the Locals Discord. There's a link in there. That's another reason to belong to the Locals Discord, that we tell you where the interview is and what's in the interview, so you don't even have to listen to it if you don't need to. Which will tell
Honestly,
you.
I did not listen to the interview. I just read what was in the Discord.
I
haven't
was
had a
waiting
chance.
for you to put it up there, so I didn't have to listen to
I
it.
hadn't had a chance to listen to it yet.
It's too much
We
work.
get you either way, right? We get
Yeah,
you going, we
exactly.
get you coming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, just
he said I'll
seagulls,
be in San
seagulls.
Diego for 20. Seagulls. That's the key phrase. Paul. I'll be in San Diego for 2022 for sure. Great to know, especially since he did get seen by other coaching things. One of the other things Andrew did say as well that I forgot to touch on. He was seriously looked at by several clubs, and he said they came at him hard, not just
That
like
was-
yeah.
That was really, really, when I did see that to me was very, very interesting. Obviously, I was happy to see that, but it was like, it felt like every single week, a new rumor was linking Landon with a different MLS job. And I know that there are a few jobs that are going to be available, and I know that there are teams around the league that would love to have Landon. So the fact that he, is still believing in this process and saying that, hey, job's not finished here in San Diego. You're like, we still got more to do. That was, to me was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting Landon to leave, but I was, as a San Diego fan, I always expect the worst. And like I said, I am, very negative. So I was, so the fact that he says, hey, you know what, I'm coming back. I'm like, all right, let's get it.
There's always a belief as San Diego sports fans that everything's falling off a cliff, kind of like our city, right? There's some analogy in there, but the idea being that with our previous sports teams, some of them were threatening to leave every other year, right? Partially why this team's named Loyal. Even with the Padres, there always feels like this holding of precious liquid that's just seeping out of our fingers every moment, right? That every single game is just another inevitable rundown. And so Landon leaving, right, feels like a very real possibility, and it feels like something that's very prescient. And so to know, hey, I'm going to be here at least for another season, I really believe in this project. Another thing he said, I don't need to go looking. I love being here. I really love who I'm working with. And so it's good to have that investment from, the top down, but also have the idea of he's a lighthouse that brings a lot of players, brings a lot of attention. So we'll have that at least for another season, and we'll have this project through 3 years. And it seems like unless there is something that is really the exact right thing for him and he's in the right life situation for it, then he won't be leaving us anytime soon, which is great. You guys have any other thoughts on him staying for sure? Otherwise, I'll get to the next thing he said, which is the players that he kept. Any other thoughts on him staying?
Let's just jump right into the players because
That's
all
what
that
everybody wants
needs to
to
be
talk
said.
about. Who are these players? Who's staying? We know Jack Blake is staying. So a question from Eric Wilk from our Discord was, he had one other question, which I'll share in a minute. But who besides Jack Blake is coming back? Jack Blake was signed to a multi-year contract. The rest of our players were not. Most USL contracts are usually a season, if not several games. So what we got today was, on this interview, him just dropping off a list of names, rattling them off. But I wrote them down. I actually listened to it like where they sound drunk, where they're like at half speed. It's like Charlie Adams. That's how it sounded. But he was the first name. Not surprising. Very key in how we move the ball and what we do tactically. Charlie's back, guys. Yay, Charlie.
The engine of our midfield.
Yeah. The London lad, no. Grant Stoneman is a anchor of our defense. Been here both seasons. Been a vital part of what we're doing. Seems to read the game pretty well. Unfortunately, did not read that header. But I love Grant. I love his inability to somehow not sponge up yellow cards every game. But guys, Grant Stoneman is back. You got an assured Halloween costume for 2022, which is just a Stoneman jersey with yellow card. There you go. Colin Martin is back. Colin, one of our players who I think grew the most this year into a position where he was solid last year, had some really great flashes of games where he looked fantastic, but actually didn't start most of the season or wasn't as integral to the games he played, versus this season I think was him and Charlie were a tandem that, without the two of them together, the ball moved very differently, and the way that our offense looked very different. Unfortunately, some games like this last one, they weren't quite there, but they are not the players who are supposed to be taking those shots. Him coming from the back forward was something that was way more exciting for me this year. But any other thoughts on Colin this year? I think he had a standout season in a lot of ways.
I just loved watching him play. I think without him, even if we still had Charlie, the season would have gone much different. 'Cause I think we would have been able to function a little bit more without Charlie, but without Colin being seemingly everywhere in the midfield, destroying plays before they could even get started. It was really nice to see him perform.
I thought Colin was one of our most consistent players all year, and I'm so happy that he's coming back. That's about all I can say right there. I mean, that's all you ask for from a player is consistency, and the fact that it was constant. That whenever he was in there, it was always consistent performances, consistent performances, consistent performances. That's what you want out of your guys.
He was never someone who let a ball by him in a way that you were like, oh no, why not? Like it just doesn't happen. Like he had one of those years where he was just a trap, and every other pass it almost seemed like that we were making was to Colin, and then away from Colin, right? And so he just was seminal to what we're doing, and it's exciting to see that he's returning. Means that we don't have to go searching for new pieces who do these things. He's right here. Other ones that were interesting: Austin Guerrero, name right behind me here. Not surprising, been our number one most of the year. Even with talent like Dylan, who's, just as talented, if not maybe more talented from a shot stopping standpoint. Austin does a lot of things really, really well that these guys like from a coaching standpoint that I think can't be overrated. And so it's really good to have him back there, and again, not having to relearn or retrain, and maybe not having to phase in somebody like we tried to phase Trey in this year, who had a rough year with his injury. But it's one of those things where maybe you save those games, and early on, if Austin's starting, maybe we don't have some games where we let in some goals, right? Just because he's a little more organized with that back line and knows what we're doing. Maybe not, but I'm excited for Austin to come back, and he seems to be a fan favorite of the locals and somebody who really understands what we're doing and is a part of our community here in San Diego. So can't ask for more than that from a re-signing and somebody who's been a cornerstone here with this club. So him and Anthony Siaha. So we're not just bringing back one keeper, we're bringing back two keepers. Former soccer, former everything, I guess. Siaha is coming back. He's also a guy who's hung out in the locals a bit, been around in the section with everybody, and when he's not playing, and is definitely up there and around. So good to have Anthony back. Biggest name that all of us should be happy for, because he's our player of the year, meaning that he was our favorite player and the one we thought played the best. Tumi Moshabani, returning for a third straight year. Fourth or fifth, I'm not sure how many years he played before under Coach Nate when he was in Lansing, but he was a Lansing transplant along with Grant Stoneman. Both of them played with Coach Nate there, and both of them have come here to Loyal now for both of our seasons and will be returning for season 3. So thoughts on Toomey, guys? I think he really was the guy that, to me, this year signified him and Colin, right? That upgrade from last year where they went from almost on the cusp of every game being good or having flashes where they could really dominate a game for 20 to 30 minutes to being really a player that put in the work and showed every single match they were going to try and take over their corner of the field and do what they needed to do.
Toomey's just from what we would see, Toomey's just a quiet guy, keeps his head down and gets shit done. It was fantastic to see him grow from his first season where it seemed he wasn't really comfortable, wasn't really doing much, just going through the motions, to now he's the locals player of the season, leading scorer, MVP of the team.
Yeah. I don't have anything else to say about Toomey. Do you guys have anything else to say about Toomey? Because the other next person I'm going to mention is definitely Paul's fan favorite, which is Elijah Martin is coming back. So how do you feel, Paul, when you read Elijah's coming back? Even maybe right now,
man.
You just heard. How do you feel?
Man, I felt like he was the one guy I was like, maybe he won't be back because maybe other teams are looking at him, but he just has such a great attitude and energy, and he's so good on the field, and I don't know. He's my son's favorite player. Whenever he's like on TV or whenever he goes to the game, he's like, "Where's Elijah?" Or "That's Elijah." I was like, I don't know. He just made that connection um, with our family, and just to be able to maybe not starting in the beginning, but to really earn his spot and solidify, like, I am here. Like, you can't take this away from me, type of thing. Um, I'm just glad we have him again. I mean, I really felt like maybe he might move on, but I'm happy to hear that he's staying.
He's a next level player. He is one who could slot in somewhere, and somebody would be lucky to have him as their lockdown on that side. And somebody, maybe he would be a backup in MLS, but they would know if we bring him in, solid, right? Or if we're gonna have him start a game, he's gonna be solid there. He's never gonna let us down. I think reading his story a little bit, which is profiled by Black Arrow FC, who does great work. Garrett Richardson over there wrote a piece. It's on the USL Championship website right now about Elijah as a profile. It seems like just his personal story in terms of taking some time away from the sport, has that a little bit in common with Landon in some ways, and just mentally wanting to be in a good place to play somewhere where he loves to be is more important than anything else to him, which is you can't ask for more in a player than that, right? That's what they love, like that they love to be here, they love to be with us and they're vibing off what we're vibing off of, right? Like that to me, and it's helping them get to a place where they feel like this is what they always wanted to do, right? That's where Elijah feels like he's at, and I think again he's next level talent. I would never be surprised if somebody came sniffing around and made a transfer request for him, but I'm always glad when he's on the field because it's pretty much once or twice a game I go, thank God for Elijah that he's out there, because what looks like it's going to be a surefire deep cutting run or going to probably produce a goal just gets cut out right on that side before it even comes even closer to the center. So good to have him
Paul,
back. Yeah.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I feel like I keep jumping in before Drew's done
No,
talking.
you're good, bro.
Paul, your son and I have something in common because Elijah's also my favorite player. And I mean, again, another thing that I've talked about with Boyk ad nauseum is I feel like Elijah is just like Colin has been, was one of our most consistent players all season. And I'm so happy that Elijah's coming back. And also, that story by Black Arrow FC was tremendous. Shout out to them because they do a tremendous job telling different stories of Black people in soccer, and I believe that those are stories that need to be told. So yeah, shout out to them as well. That story about Elijah was absolutely tremendous.
Excellent. It really is just great stuff. So everybody here, required reading. You got homework tonight, or whenever you listen to this, you got to go and read that article if you haven't already. Check it out. If you've been on the interweb in the last 3 days, you should have read it already. So take a look. The other final player that he listed after he said Elijah Martin, and then after I think 30 seconds, he was saying some other stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Morgan Hackworth is coming back too." So we got Morgan Hackworth coming back for a season 3 here, son of former Louisville head coach. But which is really funny that that was the whole thing. We're gonna play his dad, and then by the time we played his dad's team, his dad wasn't the coach anymore. But he has been a player we've seen improve, and just very smart player. Seems to be very ball intelligent in terms of making the right decisions towards the ball as well as off the ball. And somebody I'm excited to see. Tommy's your favorite player, right? Yeah, you're
It's an Evertonian. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Embodies the
there you
club embodies Everton, blue collar, get shit done.
He is. He's a worker and keeps changing up. He had a different hairstyle this year than he did last year, so maybe he'll have a different hairstyle in year 3. We'll find out. But exciting to see players that have come in, were here, and you didn't know with Morgan. Would he even be back for season 2? Came back for season 2, had a different look, almost playing in a little bit different fashion. Season 3, what's that going to bring? Just being more invested in the squad. He also seems to be one of those guys who, off the field, seems to be somebody who's a real clubhouse builder, right? The opposite of a clubhouse cancer, somebody who really embraces everybody else and helps sponge around. You see him always just kind of hanging out with everybody in different settings with different players. So really good to see just this core group of people who enjoy working together, obviously, continue to stay together. And it's not an assurance in this league, so very exciting to see. Any hot takes otherwise on the end of the season and what happened here? Otherwise, we're going to shift into another question. Hot takes? Anybody?
Stop
serving hot
crossing
takes?
the ball.
I don't think that's a
Not
hot
even a
take.
hot
I
take.
think that's a.
It's not even a hot take. I just want to get that out there. Just stop crossing the damn ball.
I think everyone would agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were saying with tactics, which was we love crossing, and by that we don't, but you need to vary it up, right? And it felt a little bit redundant, especially in a game where we couldn't produce, and certain other games where we just haven't been able to fire a goal in, where all we're doing is crossing. It becomes frustrating after a bit. So I would say it's definitely not a hot take, but definitely something where maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe to certain years it is.
It's definitely
Otherwise-
not a hot take. I just want to
it's
throw
not a
that
hot
out
take.
there.
No, it's not. But it's a very like lukewarm, like under a blanket for 30 minutes tank. That's the kind of take it is. Cake? Now I want cake. So you guys gonna watch the rest of the playoffs? We watched our team not win, and weirdly we could have ended up with a home game if we would have won. We're not gonna talk about any of that. You gonna watch the playoffs? You gonna watch Oakland versus Orange County?
No,
Dare I say? Okay.
No,
You gonna
not-
watch
not intrigued
RGV
by that.
versus San Antonio? No, anybody?
Maybe.
Okay.
Nah, I'm probably not gonna watch the
All right.
playoffs. You know.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It just was so shocking to be out of it that it's like, huh. And with Phoenix, I would definitely root against Phoenix, right? I'd watch that, hate watch it, root against Phoenix. A couple teams that I'd like definitely have strong feelings about. Orange County, definitely don't want to see them win. But Oakland, they played hard against us. I'd like to see them advance, but at the same time, I kind of feel like, man, how do they get an advance? And here we are, right? Like, I wish I had their matchup, right, in the first round there where they sucker punched El Paso. That would have been nice. But El Paso had a great season too, so I don't know. I'm with you guys. I think I'm going to find myself somewhere else when they might be on TV. Maybe I'll put them on the phone, on the iPad, but we'll see what happens there. Maybe we'll be cherry picking some talent. Big soccer budget, something to watch there. So,
What are you talking about, man? We're going after Mbappe. Come on, man.
Yeah,
That's where our money's going.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where we're going. So, one of the things we'll talk about in the post show too. I see you guys in the comments lighting up some players who weren't here. We'll do that a little bit in the post show just to talk about players maybe we wanted to see come back that didn't. But let's move on just to kind of wrap up the show here around the hour mark. One of the major questions was just generally at the end of the watch party, man, this is over. Are we going to see each other again? When are we going to see each other again? Next March? February? When's that going to be? So Sean Duffy asked in our Discord, can we do an end of the season party for the locals? Well, Sean, yes, we can. And we're probably going to. And by probably, I mean we're going to. It just depends on where we're going to find
his
a
apartment.
date. At Sean's apartment. We just have to take turns, 5 people at a time, as he said in the Discord. But if we don't have it at Sean's apartment, we would like to have it somewhere where there's a venue that could host, 50 to 100 people pretty, easily in terms of how many people, as we saw, could show up to Stone. Now I'm pretty wary. I was like, oh, maybe it's, just get a brewery, get whatever. But it's, you got to call people ahead of time and have a plan. That's what we figured out, right? We got to have the right tactics when we're bringing people in. So we're definitely going to do something in the first couple weeks of December. We just want to find the right place, the right date, and then we will send it out to everybody probably here in the next week or two. So just keep your eyes peeled to the social medias. Actually, don't do that. That's bad for your eyes. Check reasonable, updated times. Maybe like midday, then the end of the day or whatever. So, you guys have any thoughts? You guys want to make an ugly sweater party? You want to do whatever? No?
Gingerbread.
No,
I want to build gingerbread houses.
Okay.
Ugly sweater gingerbread house party
Cool.
You know what? Hey.
at Sean at Duffy's apartment.
At Duffy's apartment. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That sounds good. Well, let's just, there's 4 of us and Sean Duffy, so we could do that, just the 5 of us. It sounds good.
Yeah, perfect.
And then, 100 other people just waiting outside. No problem.
Well, they can go do their they can do their own thing.
They could, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. One more thing to talk about before we wrap up here, which is we don't have any more opportunities to cheer on our team until 2022, as we've discussed thoroughly throughout this podcast. One of the things that we like to do, though, is support other local clubs. And our club's been doing a good job of it. They were rooting them on today, and since they've gone out of their season, which is on social, rooting on 1904, promoting the new women's club here in town, as well as being a partner to the Soccers and helping them out. So all three of those opportunities you're going to have here to engage as a local fan, and hopefully we'll take advantage. One of the things I wanted to ask you guys about was, just to wrap up the show here, NWSL, new in town, didn't have a name, now has a name. No crest, no colors yet. Maybe. San Diego Wave Football Club. How are we feeling? Paul, how you feeling? You going to buy the shirt?
I didn't buy anything from their their latest drop because I know the crest and the official stuff's gonna come out in sometime in December. So I was like, do I really want to wear this, knowing that I can wear the crest anyways later on? So I was like, meh, I'll hold off and wait for the real thing.
Yeah.
But I did get. I am getting
That's
like
telling. That's why we asked the word
NWSL
expansion.
scarf. So
Yeah, I've got one of those NWSL scarves. They look pretty good. I got an NWSL hat, but it's old news. They're San Diego Wave now. You gotta be with the wave.
yeah.
Never let anyone ride your wave, in the words of the great Quavo. Most people listening don't even know who that is, so I don't even know why I said that.
Pretty good.
I think that's
good.
gonna be in one of the ends, Nate. I think they're gonna have a huge poster that just says, "Don't let anybody ride your wave."
Oh my goodness! Yes. If anyone knows who Quavo is, then do y'all know who that is or no?
I know who he is. I don't really listen to him.
Okay. All
I
right.
know of
Yeah.
Quavo, yes.
Okay.
I know the name. I know the
Okay.
name.
Yeah,
Give y'all a little bit more credit, but
he's a rapping surfer. That's what.
Yeah.
He raps and his whole beat is just surf music.
No, you know what? When I saw San Diego Wave, I wasn't in love with it when I first saw it. But then I also think about the fact that like 2 years ago, I wasn't in love with the name San Diego Loyal. So like, I'm sure within the next few months, I will open up to it. I mean, it's
NWSL
for me.
NWSL names can be different too. They're a little bit different. They've all got a feel that melds together. They all sound good together, but they're definitely a little bit different than other soccer names in certain ways, but not bad. Like Sky Blue FC, not really a name you might have somewhere else, but it really works for their league, right? So stuff like that, Chicago Red Stars, stuff like that just have a little bit interesting names, but I don't think they don't work, but I agree, Nate. I think it'll be a grower, not a shower. It's one of those where, as San Diegans, I think we always feel bad when somebody tries to boil our experience into one name, right? That's kind of the way we look at it. We're like, you're boiling our entire experience as a county that's extremely diverse, topography and people-wise, into just a singular name. And so it's always really hard for anyone to do, but it'll be interesting to see what the crest, I think, looks like for sure. That's going to be the big thing, is where does that go? But we appreciate them bringing something to the soccer community and trying, and especially the people trying to bring a supporters group over there. Good luck. Let us know how we can help and assist, just even if it's getting coffee or beers and, talking about what went wrong as much as what went right. But this group is amazing. Everybody's done an incredible job. I think one thing we kept saying near the end of the year, and I think it reigns completely true, is that everybody here in 109, as well as the people part of the locals community and Chavos as well, it is just a wonderful group of people to be a part of. And it's one of those things where we did our job, right, is what we said. We did our job. We showed up. We did our job, and we did a hell of a job. So I think to all of us, hats off. I literally took my hat off for people watching.
Okay, hold on.
Hats off. You didn't have to, Tom. Your hair looks
Yeah,
much
I'm
better.
not even wearing a hat. I
Tom,
didn't realize this was a hat
Nate
party.
took off a metaphorical hat. So
and
And
Paul
Paul left.
Paul dropped, but he'll be back because Paul wants us to end the podcast, because I was going to be like, Paul, let's talk about Instagram. So we'll do that in the post show. But I do want to wrap up here, since we had a nice moment talking about what we've all done here this year, and thank you to everybody. Tom, last thoughts. I'll go to everybody for last thoughts, and we'll close out. Tom, last thoughts.
Stop crossing the ball.
Stop crossing the ball, Tom
Stop
says.
crossing the ball.
And he wonders why we don't bring him back on the podcast. He just says the same thing over and over. I'm just kidding. Tom, it's been wonderful having you.
I appreciate
Paul.
you inviting me back on.
Of course, Tom. Anytime. Paul, except for not all the time. Just every once in a while. That's it. Paul, last thoughts?
I'm just so grateful and thankful for the locals and Chavos for really making the supporter section like the place to be. Like I can't imagine just sitting down and watching a game anymore. So really made the experience like something to look forward to. So thank you, everyone.
Totally. Nate, any words before we close?
I mean, yeah, just, thank you to everyone, everyone in leadership that I know how hard y'all work getting to the stadium early to set everything up. And, to everyone in the locals, Chavos, like we brought it every single match. Like you said, Drew, we did our job every single week. And just, I'm so grateful and blessed to be a part of this group, and that, all the people that I've gotten to know, and all the new friends that I've made, even over even over this season alone, cannot thank y'all enough and tell y'all enough how much I appreciate each and every one of you, even you, Tom. Love you, buddy.
Gonna make me cry.
Smoke Brothers over here.
Brothers, yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh my gosh, that's
Shirts. We gotta
our
get
new
shirts.
nickname. That's a
Yep.
new
Smoke
nickname. Yep.
Bros.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go. Thank you, Drew.
All right.
Yeah.
You're not getting any royalties.
I'm not. I got a Fungineer who's part of the Smoke Bros. We love you guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're going to have a season recap pod next week with kind of a reflection on the entire season and what it meant. So definitely tune in. We may have somebody who's been on the podcast a lot before come back. I don't know. We'll see. I'm whispering.
It's me. I'll
'Cause
be
if he
there.
hears, he's got ears like a Doberman. I don't know. I was thinking of some sort of dog. So if he hears, he.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, stay tuned. We love you, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
And that was the loyal locals
Yep.
podcast.
Mhm.
Loyal locals podcast. Now we are in the post show. Post show. Post show. Alicia S asks from our Discord, if we had a lounge, what would it look like?
There'd probably be beer there,
Mm.
one way or
Yes.
another.
This is going to be my plug for the Discord, but I wanted to keep it timely. But I think a lot of like velvet, yeah. I was gonna say swag carpet, shag carpet,
Suede, shag.
shag carpet, but we're gonna call it swag carpet.
That's what it is, really.
I'm thinking like 70s, like cocktail lounge vibes. I don't know.
I'm thinking
That's-
man cave.
That's not exactly. I was thinking much more man cave vibes, or
Man cave
just
vibes?
all right, we could just call it a people cave because we are, gender neutral here in the locals. So yeah, just a
Totally.
people cave where folks can come and hang out and chill. And
Totally. I don't think
you know,
cavemen were very concerned with gender, really.
I
Even
don't-
though
I
they
don't
called
think so
themselves
either.
cavemen. I think they were just like.
I don't think they
cave-
called themselves that. I think
They were just
Pretty
like
sure
cave guy.
they just
Cave-
grunted everything.
Yeah.
I think the grunt was the same for man or woman. I don't think it really mattered.
Ugh.
I'm cave, whatever. Yeah, that's fair. Paul, you got thoughts on how to design the lounge? What would you do?
And would it be
I
covered
thought it
wall
was
to wall
already
with
merch
locals beer?
mansion. Yeah, they have a mansion.
Merch mansion is the lounge.
There's free beer. I don't know.
So it'd be like a tract apartment behind Loyal's. I do like the idea of just like having an apartment where like people just pop in behind the Loyal thing. That's just like a room share. It's like kind of like a hostel, but like a locals hostel. That could
Yeah, they
exist
should
too.
make a basement, and then you would take over the basement.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. How about this? Because it's just easier to quantify. which soccer bar or bar in town would you take over and make into the locals lounge?
Wait, it has to be a soccer bar. Or it can just be any bar.
It could just be any bar. I said soccer bar.
Does
Then I opened it
does
up
it have to
any
be a bar, or can it be a place where people hang out and just drink beer?
You would just. I know.
Now
You know,
you're just,
you know exactly where
now
I'm going
you're
with
just
it.
bending the rules. Just say Coronado Brewing.
No, actually, it would not be Coronado because
No, I
Drew
know
knows
exactly
another place
what-
where
I
I
know
hang
exactly
out a lot. So
It could be the place you hang out the most. That's fine. That's a fine decision.
okay, yeah, it'd
So
be
if you're looking for Nate-
best pizza and brew in Mira Mesa.
You can find him there.
I'm also yes, no, yeah.
Hold
if
on,
you ever need,
what's it
a
called?
best pizza and brew, it's over in Mira Mesa.
That's
Okay,
his office. That's Nate's office.
great. I'm right by Mira Mesa Boulevard. How far is it from me right now?
It's on Mira Mesa Boulevard, dude. It's over. Where are you in Mira Mesa? Right now.
Right by Mira Mesa High School.
Okay, it's like it's like a half mile down Mira Mesa Boulevard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it's right over-
between
yeah.
there and the In and Out. If you get the In and Out, you won't
Oh.
get far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
How much longer are you in Mira Mesa for?
Wednesday.
Oh dang.
Like
okay.
my last.
Just for
I'm-
the
my last
stalkers
night
listening
here
to
is
this,
Tuesday.
Just so you can find.
I'll
time.
I'll text you and we can maybe do something.
Yeah.
All right.
But no,
So, yeah.
it's, see people making contacts, going to Best Pizza and Brew. Paul, what's the place you would take over?
It just has to be big enough where we can fit a mini pitch in.
Yeah.
So like a warehouse.
You're
or
thinking
something.
Barcata Lounge, though. But I do
Some would
think there
even
should
call
be
it a
playing,
hangar.
there should be a playing surface of some kind. Yeah, for sure. If we could just hook keg line up to the hangar, that would also work. Yeah, we're fine with that. For me, I think if you could invest a decent amount of money into somewhere like the Harp and OB, that would work really well. Just like it's cool that it's like an Irish kind of hang bar, but like you could like do some interesting stuff with a space like that, I think, which I've always loved watching stuff in, but upgrading the TVs, upgrading some of the stuff, maybe configuring it a little bit differently, I think could be pretty cool. But
Just
they do a
make
great
it
job anyway.
Just
I just
make
like
it
Danny.
exclusively Loyals and kick the San Diego Spurs out of there.
Yeah, so just never have Everton matches ever there.
I mean,
as well.
that's fine. It saves me driving to go watch Pain.
I know. At least you walk out and you see the ocean. That's what I always feel about Spurs. I'm like, at least I'm one of the few Spurs fans who can walk out and look at the Pacific Ocean after we lose. So I got that going for me. And then most of those days it's cloudy.
Or
no
tie without a
overcast.
shot on target.
Yeah. Shots on target, man. That's what it's all about here on the Little
Conte
Locals
ball.
podcast.
Conte
Yeah,
ball.
dude. Paul, Instagram. How do you do it? How do
Yes.
you every day just be like, here's a thing to post about Loyal? Do you just like wait to be inspired, or do you like actively seek it out?
I don't know. I think you can kind of intertwine Loyal with like everyday San Diego anything. Like if you're at the beach, I have a hat for that. If or if I'm cold, I have a sweater. Or I don't know. They're just everywhere. Like they're part of the community, so it's kind of like you can do a lot of things. Like the beach cleanups. There's I don't know. There's a slot.
You just like consult the force, man. You're just like, what do my locals midi-chlorians tell me is happening today? That's pretty cool. They're out there. I experience them, and then I just share my experience. That's pretty cool. But I do think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's
I think, like,
I
for
think-
example, the Orange County game, like that, this
yeah.
this mask, like, this was just inspired from like a tweet, and I was
This
like,
is crazy too.
that's cool. Let's
How
take
much,
it.
how long do you spend cutting stickers for that? Because the cutting is what's incredible, where you like cut them right around the eyes and stuff.
Probably took me like 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, this part right here took forever, but this
I mean,
part
But it looked
not too bad.
as soon as I saw that, I was like, damn, that's incredible.
I thought it was Photoshop. I didn't believe it was real. And then I was like, no, it's Paul. It's definitely real.
Tom, can you please stop breathing like Darth Vader? Oh, that was you, Drew? Okay.
No, it was both of us. It was
Okay,
Tom.
yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm breathing loud.
I blame Tom for all my problems. I'm like,
what other tabs you got open on your computer over there? What are you watching?
You don't want to know.
I blame Tom for my research not getting approved yet. I'm just like,
If you do not follow Paul, like Laura is asking, it's his tag right there. He's got several Instagrams to follow him at, not just one. But if you're going to follow Paul, it's like a commitment to follow like 6 different Instagrams. But the good thing is he shares stuff from each Instagram to the other ones, so you're not really missing out, depending on what your vein of content you're looking for is. His specific one is Loyal Local 13 for his local adventures. He also operates our Instagram, so most of the time when you see content on the locals Instagram, it's there. Paul, what's your personal Instagram? Unless you don't want to share it, that's fine too. Don't follow Paul there. It's cool.
That's personal.
Don't follow. You
I mean,
can follow
that's
Bridge
why I create the
Barcata
other
too.
Instagrams, because
You can follow Barcata Skate, all the other stuff.
that's
Exactly.
true.
It's mostly like all of your life
Yeah.
anyway, minus the like human and like
Yeah.
parts that like keep your child safe by not sharing their face too much. But it's been cool to watch Parker's journey too this year, where you could actually like experience and like be at stuff too.
Right. Yeah, I think I try to, because if I put all my involvement with soccer on my personal page, then it would just be all soccer. And it'd be so hard to like, where's my son? type of thing.
I swear he's the most important thing in my life.
So I want to make sure I have like, I got a family somewhere here.
Yeah. And that's where, now you do a great job of segmenting it. I think it's very easy to follow. For me, I just follow all of it. So I'm just like, oh yeah, here's the same thing. And then like, it's funny to see where you'll like take it and like do something else with it over in a different channel. So he is a true master of the game. If you want to learn how to drive content and followers, people follow our Instagram a lot and have been doing that. And that's a huge testament to you, Paul, and what you've been doing. So it is not unnoticed, and it's not something that's not a skill. I think it's something that's definitely a skill, and you've mastered it in a lot of ways. So thank you for doing it for us and being something that you do just openly as a passion, but also being willing to share that with us as a group, because we benefit. So we appreciate it.
Jason had a good question.
Yeah, go ahead. Fire.
Question for the Smoke Bros. Were you guys friends prior to the locals? We knew each other before, just from going to O'Brien's with the Outlaws, but we never really talked outside of that. We don't really even talk outside of loyal stuff.
But I would say that we're friends.
Smoke
I don't
Bros.
know.
Oh, we're friends.
I'd say we're friends. Yes,
we're friends, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. I think it was that first, like the very first match we ever had at Terrera, which was that friendly. I like was talking to you at the parking lot, and you were talking about the smoke machine, and I kind of said as a joke, like, "Hey, like, can I hit the button too?" And you were like, "Sure." And then it kind of started from there. And I feel like we do a good job with the smoke. I tend to be a little bit more liberal with the button than you are.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's good balance. It's good balance.
Oh yeah.
You need the person who's a little bit overzealous with the smoke, and then you need the one who's just like, you know what, the smoke is for special times. And I think you guys do a great job of mixing up Smoke Bros. That is my chosen spot in Section 109 when I can be there, which was not at all this season. I got sucked into the Riptide in the middle. That's what happened.
Oh, you found your way down there sometimes.
Yeah, we saw you quite a bit.
Yeah, it's usually
it's nice because we're right by we're right in that first row, so it's good. And then when I've also brought friends that have also stood with us, and when I brought my sister, they've always had a great time down in that corner with us. So
we need a heat map for 109. We need a heat map. See where the most active parts of the section are here. Smoke Bros corner.
Definitely the bottom right corner.
Definitely the Smoke Bros corner. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mainly because
Paul
there's
gets some really good clips outside of the
Wherever-
Smoke Bros. Corner.
Wherever Craig is.
That's
But
also
even
all
so,
very
even
good here.
but even sometimes I've seen Craig down with us, so it's
Yeah,
like
Craig gets
okay, it's
down
like
there.
it's like double, you know.
People are drawn to the smoke.
plus
Moths
the
to a
smoke
flame.
machine has heat, so we're really the hottest part of the section.
Literally.
Plus,
the hottest
Tom and I
Literally.
are both very handsome guys, so yeah, we are the hottest part of the
Yeah,
section.
Smoke Show Bros. Smoke Bros.
Exactly. No,
Shirts
it's
coming
double
soon.
entendre. It's smoke. Yeah, it means two
Smoke
things.
Bros sounds like a terrible dispensary or like vape shop.
You want to go into business? I got a great name for us.
Smoke Bros.
Oh my goodness.
That's pretty funny.
Whew.
Oh, Smoke Bros. I got one more question from Eric to get through here, which is, what is the best meat for tacos?
Carnitas.
Carnitas.
Carne asada.
Yeah, I'm with Paul.
I'm carne asada as well.
Yeah, it's just I'll have other stuff. I love them all. I like a smattering. Like give me one of each. That is my jam. But nothing is fulfilling as a carne asada taco. You eat one and you're like, ooh, that just hit the spot in a way that it's just always the best. So yeah. Carne asada, hands down.
I also try to avoid eating pork, so
Oh.
so that's fine. Yeah.
It's an unclean animal. So
No, it actually is like for religious reasons. I don't know
It
why
is?
I'm saying this. I'm gonna.
no, that's fine. Yeah, it is. It's
No,
an
dude,
unclean
you
animal.
learn something new every day.
There you go. I don't understand why I eat so much pork, to be honest. That's a different question. So I should probably look into that for just health reasons. Paul, this is something that we could have talked about a little earlier, but it's something everybody else has also been wondering, like low-key subtext question that everybody kind of peppers in there, which was, let's have a game with locals and stuff. Something Paul and I have talked about for a while, which is like, how do we have like a supporters thing in San Diego? Because we think we could get not just locals, but get SD, Spurs, as Tom said, or Everton, or have the Toffees bring us some toffee and play some soccer together with everybody, like a supporters cup. Paul's even called it. I think that's a cool idea. Paul, shoot the idea out here. We're thinking, I don't know, sometime in the next 3 to 4 months before the next season, but it's always hard to organize these things. Usually they come together more organically than that, but any ideas? No? I'm just going to keep talking to myself into space.
You pretty much explained it all.
No, okay. Yeah, that would be the idea. Do like a small Barcata style back and forth, so that way nobody has to kill themselves on a grass field or a turf field. Indoor would always be fun too, to get everybody out there, but the nice thing with Barcata is literally almost anybody can jump in and play, and it's much easier to field a team of 3 to 4 or 5 people than it is to field a team of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So
I'll just bring a bunch of orange slices because
That's-
y'all don't want to see me kick a
We
soccer
can-
ball.
hey,
Bad man.
it'll be a scene. I like the idea of it just being a scene. Anyway, I heard about it. Some of these golf tournaments. The Ben and Woods had a golf tournament lately where people just hung out. They were like, "I'm not even here for the golf. I'm just here to hang." We're all about that. I think that's kind of what I ideally would see at this kind of thing. So we'll see. Part of it has to do with venue as well.
Why don't we do like a foot
Yeah, I
golf
think
thing?
how we did our last pickup was very conducive to something like just to get people together, where we just have games going on, people just lining up. They can play with whoever. There's not necessarily a need for teams, and then there's like other stuff going on. Like there's vendors, there's food, there's drinks, and just like I think we just need to get together because we've been apart for so long. So
yeah,
whenever it's considered safe or whatever, I really think we could do something pretty big, bring more people together.
Totally. Hangar is opening an East County location. That could be a place to do it, possibly. I don't know.
Oh,
when they open.
Where?
We could also do it at any fine double basketball court in the city. Would go great. So
Yeah,
Works anywhere.
that new place, the hangar, is huge. It used to
It's
be like
massive.
a roller rink. They have about 3 fields gonna be in there, and
Wow.
it's huge. So I think once that's set up,
And Santee?
that'll be probably um. Is it
It's like
Santee?
El
No, it's not
Cajon-ish,
Santee.
right?
It's yeah, El Cajon, like near the
Okay.
airport.
Okay.
Montgomery,
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, it's huge. So that to me, I think that'd be ideal because there's so much space, and once they are complete, it's gonna be, I think, like one of the centers of soccer in San Diego. So it'll be exciting, to say the least.
It will be a jam. So that's something else to look forward to. It's not just local specific, but something where we, as Paul said, want to get everybody together. And, the Bluefoot, there's tons of different supporters groups that meet there. And I listen to their podcast, Footy from the Foot. Sorry, lots of feet in there. It's kind of like whatever. But they are always doing a great job of sewing a community within the European supporters groups and the other groups in town that would be fun to kind of get everybody together, even though some of those folks do bleed over into locals. A lot of them are more involved there, and some of them haven't met us yet. So it's a nice way to have outreach and everybody meet everybody too, that they've been asking to do since before the season last year. There was a lot of talk of us working with the EPL people last year and trying to do stuff, and then everything happened, right, where everybody couldn't meet for a while. So now it's the time to do it. This offseason, let's go. Let's get it done. Tom, any offseason plans for you as we meld into the post-show malaise?
No, just gonna continue playing soccer every Monday night.
There you go.
And then just yell at TV screens because FIFA's a piece of shit.
It is. It doesn't know the buttons you're pressing when you press them. I found that to be the true of most video games.
Yep.
Nate, Dortmund.
Do you want my thoughts right now, or
I don't know. That was
it's
it was like an open-ended question.
it's. I mean, we are in danger of even falling out of getting knocked out of the Champions League in the group stage. I believe we are tied because we lost both home and away to Ajax, so we're tied on 6 points with Sporting Lisbon, and we still have to go play them in Portugal. So I'm a bit worried about that, but
Sounds
at
like
least
a rebuilding year.
you know what? At least I know that when it comes to Dortmund, Kim and I can suffer together.
This is
Shout
true.
out to Kim.
And that's what's beautiful. You have locals bleeding in different places, all over the place. We can all suffer even more with this sport that we claim to love. Right? That's what it's about.
Suffering with the people you care about.
Yeah, really it is. So there was, there's really no other great questions to get to delve into in this post show of ours. Do you guys have anything you want to throw at me? No? Why is your forehead so big? I don't know.
Do you miss living near me?
Yes, in certain ways, because it's so much easier to pull into parking lots not where I live now, because it's just like more space, more like just easier to go in and out of things. But I do like walking to everything, which is nice. So there's a back and a forth, but I do miss being able to go to Best Pizza and Brew when Nate's like, let's go to Best Pizza and Brew, and I'm like, it's 10 minutes away from my house. Much easier then. Now it's not as close. So I do miss that.
I just see. Oh, sorry. I just saw something in the chat, but continue.
Nobody cares.
Okay. Okay. I just saw USA Mexico predictions.
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
I've got my predictions are very specific. So if you want to hear my predictions, I got 2-0. Right. I got USA winning 2-0. I got Miles Robinson scoring on a set piece in the 47th minute.
Great.
And then I got Ricardo Pepi scoring in the 79th minute. 2-0.
Well then, on that note, I will take my leave. See. All right. Bye, friends.
Bye, Tom. Tom, you're not giving a prediction?
Dos a cero.
Okay. Not as specific as Nate's. You got
No,
a prediction,
God,
Paul?
no.
I don't know. No. Maybe 1-0 US.
I'm saying 3-2. Let's go. Just for fun. But I like Nate's prediction. I like how specific it is. It's really good. Pepe scoring is
That's
frightening.
my more confident prediction. Although we don't need to get into what I the negative part of me. We don't need to get into that. We'll just let him play it on the field. We'll let him play it on the field. You know?
Yeah, you have Shadow Nate back there in the corner being like, "Hey man,
Yeah.
what about the fact that this back line doesn't play together very much?
All right.
Hey man, what about the fact we don't have a midfield that seems to be competent outside of Tyler Adams and Mustin McKinney?" Is that Shadow Nate?
I would like to, you know what, the one thing I would say, I like Adams and McKinney in the midfield. I would like to see Busio get a start tomorrow because he had a really great. Oh, Tom left.
He said bye several times.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Paul wants to leave too. This is how the post show goes. It's kind of like Highlander. It's just we keep fighting in battle royale style till one person's left. Sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
No, I would really like
I'll
to see
hit the end button.
Busio start tomorrow instead of Musa in the midfield. I think he had a great match on Sunday against Roma. So I think he's been in better form, I think, than
I agree.
Musa has. So I would like to see him.
Bigger name.
Yeah,
yeah, Musa's the bigger name, but Busio has been the hot hand. I think you have to keep riding that as much as you can for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool, Paul. I won't make you have to drop out while we're still on. We will all leave together, walk out the door, because we are digitally in a place. We're in a streaming platform here. I see the people in the platform. They're like taking the chairs and putting them on the tables in the little box that we've got here. That's what's happening inside the streaming platform. They're saying you guys got to get out of here. You don't have to go home, but you got to leave the Loyal Local podcast. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it, guys. See you soon.
Peace.
Peace. Bye.